Time to talk Huskers here at the Voice of College Football. Please like these videos. So we want you to jump on in and take part in the live chat, ask your comments and questions. But before you do, before you get comfortable and just listen to Greg for the next hour and I kick it around, hit that like button, show us some love right there, and share the videos out on social media. We are here every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Now, of course, there are scheduling situations. Sometimes we've got to move the show. So that's important in that if you subscribe, hit that bell for the notifications, you know when we're going live if we need to change the schedule. But we're here talking Nebraska football. This is 18 consecutive times. Greg Peterson's on the line from Husker Online. Greg, how are we doing tonight?
Doing great. You should probably add technical issues on that list, too, that we kind of experienced here. But doing great, Mark, and, very excited about what's coming up here in the future for Husker football and Husker athletics. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. My daughter graduated this past weekend. We had a great time celebrating that all weekend. So
Nice.
that was a good time.
Very good.
There's a lot of items that you ran down before we started to record here that we could talk about concerning Nebraska football, and many of them are more important than what I'm going to lead with, but because of the interest in this all the time, anytime you bring up some kind of betting angle, then people's ears perk up, and lines were released across the country concerning week one and really games across the country, and we addressed those last week. The Nebraska-Oklahoma game and some of the key games in the Big Ten that have been released. But just here in the last couple of days, the over-under win-loss total has been released, and Nebraska sits at 5.5. How does that hit you?
Right on the nail, if you ask me. You want them to win 6 games. That's what you're looking at. And we've talked about this until we're blue in the face. 6 games and a bowl trip makes all the difference in the world right now, and especially with the schedule that they have. Now, can they win more than 5.5 or more than 6 games? Yeah, they sure can. Can they lose more than 6? Absolutely. So, it's hard to say, but that's where, until they can prove something different than what they've done, winning 4 games a couple of years in a row like that. I think 5.5 is just exactly what Vegas wants. So I'm not going to argue with those guys. They know a lot more about it than I do, and that's why I don't gamble. So to me that's exactly where it should be.
Yeah, if you look at the schedule, of course, with a lot of the lines that came out, the over-unders, they put a win total right on a whole number. So there's a possibility that if you lay a wager, it could come right smack dab on that number. It's a push, you get your money back. But with Nebraska at 5.5, of course,
all about the unknown.
You're going to basically either win or lose money there. When I look at this schedule, they're drawing a difficult assignment out of the MAC. So even though they should beat Buffalo, that's not a given. The Fordham game's a given. I'm looking, I start that kind of analysis in looking at over-unders with, okay, where are the wins? Where are the certain wins? And I'm only coming up with one that I just, without a doubt, could put on the line. The Buffalo game's a near certainty, so they're a 2. Now, obviously, they're going to win more than 2 games, but in terms of knowing, hey, they're going to beat this team, everybody else, those are winnable and losable games, all of them.
Yeah, they are, but obviously getting out of the gate with the Illinois team that has a brand new coaching staff and Brent Bielema, who I'm really shocked. I've heard a lot of really bad things about him from Arkansas fans here lately, and I didn't know things were that bad. But that's going to be a whole new makeup with Illinois. So Nebraska, you got to figure, is going to be favored in that game. If not, it's going to be really close. And then Buffalo, which you thought might have been a tougher game until with all the coaching turnover that they had on that staff and a lot of personnel moves as well.
Good point.
Yeah, and so that's you don't know what kind of Buffalo team you're getting, and then you throw Fordham in there, and so Nebraska should be favored in all three of those opening games in my mind. Obviously, Oklahoma is going to be favored next, but besides Ohio State and any of those other road games, Nebraska is going to be, if not favored in most of those other games, then it's going to be really close. So right now, and this is what like I think we've talked about before, is that there's nothing going on at this time of year. So we throw out all these odds and try to figure out what's going to happen here when nobody actually has any kind of clue how it's going to all end up.
So they open at Illinois. Of course, they lost to the Illini last year, but I believe them to be a better team than Illinois. The game is on the road. I would say that that's a game that they win 65 to 75% of the time, something in that range.
Yeah.
Okay, they beat Fordham. They should beat Buffalo. Again, it's not completely lock, stock, barrel, but about 90% certainty that they beat Buffalo. And they're 3-0. And then what I typically do is I don't try to go through and with a lot of teams that are on the same level, meaning Minnesota, Northwestern, Purdue, Nebraska, just pick out every game and say, well, they're going to win that game, they're going to lose that game. I bunch them together and say, okay, here's 5 like games. Purdue, Minnesota, Northwestern, those kind of games, and say it would be good if Nebraska could win, let's say 3 of the 5. That would be good. Yep. 2 out of 5 isn't so great. 1 out of 5 would be a disaster, that sort of thing, and look at it in terms of probabilities. What's probably going to happen? Well, they're probably going to be 3-0 when they go to Oklahoma, and they're probably going to lose that game. They could fight and win it. It wouldn't shock me, but right now they're about a 3-touchdown underdog. They might be the better team when they go to Michigan State. I think that Nebraska fans should believe that they're a better team than Michigan State is. It is a road game, but I would give them maybe a 55-45 or 60-40 lean in that one. So if they start off this season at 4-1 with a Northwestern team at home, then man, they're off to a really solid season, even though, like we've talked about, the back end is brutal. But if they could start 4-1, 5-2 in that range, 5-2 seems very attainable. And then after that, it gets rough down the stretch. And to be able to steal one against Ohio State, Wisconsin, Iowa would be a step in the right direction, something we haven't seen under Scott Frost yet. To steal, we're talking about 3 of the top 15 teams in the country if they play up to what the expectations are.
Right, and that's monumental, and that's what you're looking for right now to move this program back into the direction that everybody wants it to be, to where they expect it to be at. Obviously, I agree with you 100%, and I think it's a big key that this isn't something that we've seen lately, that if Nebraska can start off the season 3-0, that gives you a lot of momentum. It gives you a lot of confidence that you've been lacking for the last several years, basically. And then to go in and to go play one of the top teams in the country in their house that early in the season, that's right there going to show you where your team is at right now. And if you can put on a respectable showing there in Norman, and you come out of there, you're 3-1, and then you take on a team that historically is always a close game, but in most people's minds, Nebraska usually should win that game, and that's one of those 50-50 games that we just that you just laid out, that Nebraska has not been able to come through and win in the last few years. And with the like I said, if they're 3-0 and they put on a good showing at Oklahoma and don't get embarrassed and make it a game, I think this team comes out after that with so much confidence, knowing that they can go play with the big boys. And I think it makes it a lot more interesting on that back half of that brutal schedule, to all of a sudden you don't see a team that's just going to lay down and fight for everything they got. And we're going to end up with hopefully with different results than we've been used to here the last few years.
Greg, we're going to dream just a little bit with Dewey here. 9-3.
Love it. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go that route for just a second. So if that happens, most likely what that's going to look like is losing to Oklahoma and Ohio State and splitting with Wisconsin and Iowa, losing one of those, but winning one of those, and then beating everybody that I'm not going to say Nebraska is supposed to beat, but that's on that same level. Minnesota, Illinois, Michigan, until they show us that until they show us last year was an aberration. Maybe Michigan's on that level. We don't know. They've been above that level, but they were awful last year. Mm-hmm. That can you know how rabid this fan base is. You know how loyal they are. If Nebraska gives them, let's say, even an 8-4 season where they play all the big boys tough, lose, but take care of business elsewhere, 8-4, let's say, how excited would that fan base be going into 22?
Well, exactly. You want to be those Aer Lingus guys with the Aer Lingus Classic that are trying to sell tickets to Ireland right now. If that happens, those tickets, I'm not sure when they go up for sale, but they're going to go pretty quick anyway because Garth Brooks' concert coming here to Memorial Stadium sold out in 47 minutes. So if that tells you a little bit of something about how starved people are around here for anything, an 8-4 season, my goodness, people would be dancing in the streets all winter long, waiting for spring football to start and, see their brand new toy that is finally back and just got rebuilt and it's all shiny again. That's what they want around here. So, I mean, that would be huge. That would be huge. And you know what? I mean, Dewey, 9-3 right there. You named 3 losses right there. If you lose to Oklahoma and Ohio State and say Wisconsin, and you have 9 wins, you got to probably say that team's ranked in, maybe the top 15 teams in the country.
Against that schedule, they better be.
Yeah. So who knows? Nobody. There's so many unknowns going into the season right now, not just with Nebraska, but everybody else. So who knows? Maybe Dewey knows something we don't. I don't know.
Dewey, I want to live life like you. So I'm going to take a page out of your book. This is what we're going to say here. I know I have never been to Memorial Stadium, never been to Nebraska, except for baseball. I've been there to 2 College World Series, but for the football experience, no. But I know from watching college football for 40 plus years how rabid the fan base is. So much like Dewey's dreaming for 9-3, this is what we're going to dream for. We typically have like 80, 85 people on the line, and we get a couple thousand views on these videos. Typically, if everybody that watches us each week, and Greg's just a wealth of knowledge. We have great conversations here every week talking Nebraska football. And it's only going to get better as we get closer to the season, start breaking down all the recruiting that's coming in the next couple months, and then leading at August camp. That I think by the time we've got football season rolling, Nebraska fans love it's their team. And as long as they know that we're here, we should have 500 to 1,000 people in here watching us talk about Nebraska football and taking part in the live chat here. So I'm going to dream big along with Dewey with his 9-3 selection there.
Great.
Cheryl, it's good to see you. Thanks for jumping online with us. Cheryl's a loyal supporter here for most of the live streams. Max, good to see you as well. And to everybody else, we're seeing a lot of names that we haven't seen before. So good to see you, Alan, as well. A lot of people just kick back and watch the content, but don't necessarily take part or make themselves known. But then one week they decide to. All right. So we're going with the cup half full. Alan's going with the cup half empty, and 5 and 7. So what happens?
We got almost 15 minutes into the show before the Frost question. Yeah.
What happens? We know what that means. It doesn't. He's not talking about what's going to happen to the strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah. He goes on the hot seat. Obviously, if he goes 5-7, if he doesn't make a bowl game, he does officially go on the hot seat. And then it becomes a game of how many boosters can you get to chip in to buy out his contract, and with the lack of revenue that's been going into this program here recently, and the expenditures that have been going on, that's probably not a very desirable thing for anybody to want to have to do. So, if that makes it easier for you, there you go.
And even though the record's the bottom line, and that's why you play, is to add up the wins and losses. And when you walk off the field on Saturday afternoon, that's all that counts. I do think that there's a big difference in evaluating this team and this program going forward. Let's say they go 8-4, 7-5, and if they do win 7 or 8 games, they're going to have to beat some pretty good football teams.
Yep.
Some Minnesota level teams, which is going to be great. But if they get blown out, just run over against the Oklahomas and Ohio States,
that's the problem.
That 7-5, 8-4 is going to feel different than if they go 7-5, 8-4, but they're really competitive in those games. I think that's really going to energize the fan base.
Well, right, and that's what I said. If they are a 3-0 team going to Oklahoma and they're competitive there, that changes the whole mindset going forward. Now, if you get blown out by Oklahoma, I think all of a sudden that your mindset goes back down to where we can't do this. And then you go into Ohio State and don't put in the effort that you would have been looking for, and things go down. And this is the question that we're all waiting to see, how it's answered. And it could go either way. But, I'm around this team. I've seen a lot more than most, and I am very encouraged with what I see. And in the Frost era here, and I've gone through 3 eras of coaching staffs here. 9-3 is not good enough, and we're not there yet. So, once we can get to that 9-win level, 10-win every year in and year out, nobody's going to be happy. So, baby steps is where it's at right now. And any kind of improvement that we see, like I said, 6 wins and you make a bowl game is a successful season right now. Anything else above that, you're playing with house money right now. And you just want to be able to move forward, get that bowl experience, get that extra practice time. Means so much moving into 2022. But like we said, if you can put together a pretty respectable record like 8 wins, you know what? Nebraska fans going into next season, it's going to be nuts. And I think nationally, all of a sudden, you're going to see a lot more respect for this program than you've seen for the last 7, 8 years. So,
and Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, because I think what you're doing is you're separating the standard from the expectation. So, is 6-6 good enough for Nebraska football? No, that's not the standard. That's not what the long-term expectations are. That's not the standard for this program. The standard is to compete for championships, and then we could be more detailed than that. But considering what's happened over the last few years and the progress of the program and where it stands right now, 6-6 is a reasonable expectation that would be reasonable. That doesn't mean you can separate the standard, what your long-term standard is. They're not achieving their standard at Florida State, and they've been awful for a few years. So they're not suddenly going to have an expectation that they go 11-1 and play Clemson down to the wire, although that's the standard. But that's not the expectation that they can have, much like Nebraska this season. They're 2 different things.
Well, yeah, and the funny thing is that I think about this, and there's another fan base that I think is in exactly the same position, and that's the Tennessee Volunteers. And they might even be in a worse spot right now than Nebraska. I mean, you're talking about 2 very passionate fan bases that that are starved for football success, and things have kind of fallen apart. And there's two parallels as well going on right now, because the Tennessee baseball teams had a really good year and looks like they're going to play postseason. And Nebraska just clinched the Big Ten, and has a really good baseball team as well. And now fans are starting to hang their hats on that, to kind of rally, because the rest of the athletics at both of these schools haven't really done much lately. I mean, Nebraska, you can't count volleyball in that ever, but to have a men's sport like the baseball team clinch the Big Ten title a week before play is even over, and seeing those guys just doing the big dog pile out there on the mound when they won, and in front of an Ohio State team that had just gotten whooped 3 games, I think, during the weekend by Indiana and Nebraska, and just to see those faces and that jubilation is something that this fan base is just waiting to explode for football. So yeah, I think, and like I said, Tennessee, I think they're doing the same exact thing, but they're right now, they're more of an unknown than Nebraska is right now. But that just made me, I went off in a rant here, but because I've been waiting to answer Dewey's question there about MJ Morrison. But anyway, sorry about that.
We appreciate everybody being here for Nebraska Live. We're here every Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, with Greg Peterson from Husker Online and his amazing YouTube channel with Husker Online. Check that out. When you talk about practice footage and player interviews and news conference clips with Scott Frost and the rest of the coaching staff, I've gotten lost over there, just going clip to clip to clip to try to catch up and see what these guys have to say, and then also catch during the spring practice. And we'll see more in the fall camp, I should say, in August. Practice field footage that you can find there, Husker Online, right here on YouTube, and catch Greg's work right there.
During the season, you get it all. Nobody can cover it like we do during the season, as far as high school recruiting coverage and practice coverage and game coverage for the Huskers. And yeah, you just can't beat it.
Folks, let people know that we're here every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, talking Nebraska football. Bring in a crowd. Let's get more folks in here. Okay, MJ Morris is the 6th-rated dual-threat quarterback in the country out of Atlanta, Georgia. Greg addressed his recruitment last week, but we don't expect everybody to hear everything. Dewey Cox asking about Nebraska's pursuit of MJ Morris.
Yeah, and this is a kid that came and visited for the spring game here the 1st of May, and had a fabulous time, loved it. And like we've talked about several times, that he's 40 minutes away from Georgia Tech, and they have very close family ties with Tashard Choice, one of the assistant coaches there at Georgia Tech. So, and then NC State's another team that has been involved there that is top 3. And we had actually expected, a commitment from him a couple weeks ago. On I think May 12th was actually his target date, and then he changed it to wanting to do it after the Elite 11, which he participated in and did well in, and now Elite 11's come and gone, and still haven't heard anything from him. So obviously Nebraska covets him very much, but there's other guys on their board. There's 4 other guys that they're after as well, and they're prepared if AJ decides that or MJ decides Georgia Tech's where he wants to go. So that if you looked on Husker Online earlier today, Brian Munson, our new lead recruiting analyst, who's had 20 years in the business, put out his hot board for offense today, and he put Richard Torres in there at number 1, who's a prospect that we've mentioned before, out of San Antonio, Texas, that has his official visit scheduled for June 11th. And, for that reason right now, he's number one on their board as far as we're concerned. And MJ comes in number two, and then, Connor Harrell out of Alabama and AJ Bianco out of Honolulu are number 2B and 2C right now. And all three of these other guys have official visits scheduled. And so that kind of gives you the rundown right now on that quarterback position. And right now, everything's in MJ Morris's hands. It's his decision to make right now. And Nebraska, they're not going to wait around forever. So that's the way things work these days.
Greg, could you give us a bit of a rundown, maybe however you would like to do it, position by position or target by target, in regards to who you consider to be the main targets here in June? And of course, the visit to campus is going to mean a whole lot, but basically how confident you feel the lean is at this point.
Yeah, well, right now when you've got recruiting starting to open up, which, everybody's just so excited for coming up here in about a week. Camps open up and official visits are scheduled up like crazy. So, when I start to, or when we all as a team start to think about, who's the biggest guys on that target list, you're looking at guys that have already scheduled official visits. So like at the running back spot, Justin Williams right now would be their biggest target. He's out of Dallas, Georgia, and he's coming June 4th for his official visit. So he's not wasting any time. And he's a 4-star, a good looking, good sized kid. Almost a 6 foot, 210-pound guy. And then you throw in Le'Veon Moss out of Baton Rouge, and DeAnthony Gatson out of Newton, Texas. So those are their three big targets right now. The other two guys haven't scheduled anything yet, but you have to imagine that all these kids right now are being bombarded and trying to figure out to scramble to catch up on their visits that they haven't been able to do now. For who knows how long. None of these kids, unless they could just have an unofficial visit somewhere close, haven't seen anything. So then if you look at the wide receiver position, that they're probably looking to take, 2 or 3 wide receivers in this class. They've already got Victor Jones out of Orlando, Florida as a commit. So, you figure he's in the bag. Grant Page, he's a wide receiver out of Boulder, Colorado. And he's coming June 11th for his official visit. And then it's kind of a smorgasbord after that. If you land those 3 guys, you're probably done with your class. But, you never know. And, if you look on, they're still looking to take a tight end. That's a position that they've never been more loaded at, arguably ever. But they're still looking to take another guy. It's a revolving door. I mean, you can never have enough skill position guys, especially with the transfer portal the way it is now and everything. So Chase Androff, he's out of Lakeview, Minnesota. He's their number 1 target. He's a 3-star kid, a bit, another 6'6" kid. I don't think you're ever going to see them recruiting a tight end shorter than 6'6". And he's got his official visit coming here June 4th. Another guy out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Gabe Burkle. He's got his official visit set for June 22nd. Austin Terry out of Turnwater, Washington. He was at the spring game. He had a great time. And Quentin Connolly out of Kansas City. He came for the spring game and had a great time. So you got a lot of guys that are just waiting, just chomping at the bit to get their recruitment over with, and they can start concentrating on their senior seasons. And then we'll finish it out with the offensive line. They're always going to be looking to they're taking at least 3 guys that they're looking at this year. Just to go down them really quick, Lucas Hayer, he's their biggest target right now out of Maplewood, Minnesota. Another big monster guy. He was at the spring game. DJ Moore, another guy out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Ashton Craig out of Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Jake Michaela, if I'm saying that right, Highlands Ranch, Colorado, somewhere that Nebraska's had a lot of success recruiting kids out of. Eric Lee was one of those guys. Also, Luke McCaffrey, another guy I'll throw out there that went to Highlands Ranch. And then to round it out, Brandon Miller out of Colorado, another Colorado kid, Centennial. And then Valen Erickson out of Chicago, Illinois. He was at the spring game as well. And so, they've got their offensive targets out there just ready to fill out that class as soon as they get a chance, which is it's just going to be – it's like opening the floodgates here come June 1st.
An offensive lineman going to Nebraska out of Maplewood, Minnesota should be a monster, should be built like a tree, like a Maplewood.
Bryce Benhart. He's the starting right tackle, and he's 6'9", and on a good day, he's only weighing about 340 pounds. So he's a monster. Yeah.
The 2021 opener against Illinois was supposed to be played in Ireland, and to make sure that the student athletes still get that experience and there's still exposure of American Big Ten football to that part of the world, there has been a 2022 date scheduled for Nebraska and Northwestern to head over to Ireland and play a game. So that's always something to look forward to.
Yeah, and that's not surprising. We know that they've been trying to replace that game. And I think I pointed it out on our Husker Online radio show last week that the biggest thing that stands out to me is how passionate that the Aer Lingus Classic was to have Nebraska come over and play in Ireland. Traditionally that's a game that Notre Dame goes and plays. Notre Dame and Navy have played that game several times. That was actually supposed to take place and got canceled. But their dedication to Nebraska and that Nebraska fan base was a big key in doing this. And they know what they've got with this. And, they needed to target a blue blood, college football blue blood, and then have somebody else that's on their schedule willing to give up a home game. Illinois was willing to do that for this season. Now, Illinois takes their place next season. And if you look at both of those programs, I think they're both getting sick of seeing 30 or 40,000 Nebraska fans coming into their home stadium on Saturdays. So not a bad or not a no-brain decision to give up a home game because you're going to make a lot more money as a program going over to Ireland. So great news, Husker fans. I'm sure it's going to be a tough ticket to get after a while because the times that we've been going through, we've talked about it. Husker fans are hungry for something, and since last Friday when Lancaster County here in Lincoln got rid of the mask mandate, it's just been a different atmosphere all around town. Nebraska baseball, like we mentioned, is the Big Ten regular season champion. Well, they are the Big Ten champions because there is no postseason tournament this year. And they have a final homestand here against Michigan, who's, I think, they're second place in the Big Ten right now for a 3-game homestand here that has 100% fan capacity now at Haymarket Park. And I got my tickets for Saturday as soon as they went on sale today at 1 o'clock. So we're around here. Things are getting back to normal, and this Ireland trip, it's going to make it just like we said earlier. If they have a successful year this year, that Ireland trip just gets that much bigger at the start of next season.
Yeah. So again, of course, that's a week 0 game because that's the week that begins the season, so they can accommodate the travel and not really interrupt the schedule much. And of course, they get all the student athletes over there and plenty of time to enjoy the experience, but also practice, get adjusted to the jet lag and all of that, get over there, get acclimated, and get ready to play a serious football game.
Actually, interesting point on that. is that Nebraska is scheduled to play South Dakota the following weekend after that. And right now, there's no discussion whatsoever of trying to move that game and have a bye after that. So,
Okay.
yeah, something to just kind of keep your eye on right now. So, right now, like I said, there's no actual interest or talk right now in Nebraska trying to move anything around and just play that schedule out without a bye week.
Got D-Rock Irish online with us, so we appreciate you, D-Rock Irish, always here for the live streams, talking whomever we are talking. Of course, he's a Notre Dame fan. That's obvious. I have followed up, Greg, with his question concerning two Tulsa cornerbacks.
We talked about one of them last week. Yeah.
Are we talking about that played for the Golden Hurricane this past season? Because I'm looking at Tulsa's transfer portal list, and I'm seeing two that they've acquired from other teams, Texas A&M, Missouri. I'm not seeing Tulsa defensive backs that are in the transfer portal.
What's his name? Let's see. He's an NFL. What was his name? Avante. I'm missing it. But no, he's high. We talked about him last week. That he's number one right now on Nebraska's wish list. Adding a corner like that, like we talked about, is huge to add. I know we had a list of 4 of them last week. I'll find it here, but adding a corner, I think, is a no-brainer, especially when that is your one position that you're replacing, a starting position from a returning defense that was pretty good. So, obviously, I wish I could find his name. It's driving me crazy.
All right.
But, no, he's good. And there was 4 of. I know there was the guy from Ohio State.
Tyreek Smith is the Ohio State defensive back.
Yeah.
Are we talking about a Caleb?
Caleb
Evans?
Yes, right there, Caleb Evans. Yes. Watch his film. He's he's good. He'll be at the NFL Combine wherever he ends up after next season. But and that's their number. I think that's their number one target right now. Like I said, I think everything, as soon as June 1st comes around, then you start seeing all these dominoes start to drop. So right now, I think they know what they're looking for, but it's up to any of these other guys that are in the transfer portal right now, or recruits waiting to see, see where they might want to go. We'll start knowing a lot more starting next month here when June starts up.
Evans started 9 games for a good Tulsa team that played Mississippi State in a bowl game. He had 29 tackles, a sack, 3 pass breakups, and a forced fumble. Listen to this list of teams going after him. He's been offered by Washington State, Minnesota, TCU, SMU, Mississippi State, West Virginia, Oregon State, Texas Tech, and Kansas State.
Yeah, I mean, he's got his choice of Power Fives wherever he wants to go, whatever conference he wants to go to, kind of tailor fit. I don't know. It's a guy that, he's looking to put some good senior film out there and increase his draft stock going into next year. And I think that you can never have too many corners on a team anyway, especially when you've got a couple guys that are unproven looking to lock down that starting cornerback spot across from another NFL guy that you're going to see in Cam Taylor-Britt play a lot of football on Sundays.
We've got live chat question coming in from Man Bear Pig. Greg, will Nebraska ever get a great quarterback?
I love that. Well, you hope they do. As a lifelong third generation Chicago Bears fan, I hope the Bears just got their great quarterback going back to Sid Luckman. So he is
the greatest quarterback in the franchise history still, right? Sid Luckman.
Absolutely he is. And
it's not Eric Kramer.
And you know what? I had never got a chance to see any Chicago Bear quarterback play in college in person besides Justin Fields. So, and he was pretty darn impressive when I was there watching him. So, yeah, right now, I think Adrian Martinez is in the best spot that he's ever been in Nebraska to actually be that great quarterback that Nebraska fans were hoping that he would be after, coming out of high school and missing his whole senior season and coming into Nebraska and straight into a quarterback battle that he won and had a pretty darn good true freshman season, put himself into a Heisman Trophy candidate talk, and then some injuries slowed him down, and confidence, I think, has hindered him. So right now, Adrian Martinez, if you look at his numbers are pretty good over his career. Obviously, everybody knows that it's the turnover problem that a guy like that's never going to eliminate all those turnovers, but you got to cut them down. And if you start that touchdown, that's the one thing that you look at is you want to see more touchdowns out of Adrian Martinez through the air. And you start doing those two things and you score a couple, 14 more points a game and look at the reverse of that schedule that we've talked about before. So right now, I am really encouraged with what I see from Adrian Martinez. Now, down the road, who knows? I mean, it's a recruiting game. You got to identify your guys. I know right now that the true freshman Heinrich Harburg looks the part already, which is a big surprise over a guy like Logan Smothers already, who's been in the program. So it just depends. I mean, we're going to see a new quarterback get recruited here year in and year out. So if I had a crystal ball, if I was Johnny Carson, if I was Karnak, I could probably answer that question. But just I hope you give Adrian Martinez a chance this year.
Vershawn Jackson.
That's Vershawn. That's Vershawn.
Vershawn, I'm sorry.
He's a former Husker. He played.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he wore the colors. Yeah.
Vershawn, it's great to have you here then. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Well, we aim to please here at the Voice of College Football, where Vershawn asked this question. I looked it up. I don't think it means a whole lot, but Nebraska's defensive rank, if you're just looking at yards per game given up, and that's typically what people go to first and foremost, was 50th in the country. But they played 8 games. They didn't play 12. Other teams played less games. We know what the deal was last year, number one. Number two, your opponents have a lot to do with that. Number three, total yardage. I think it definitely means something, because if you go to total yardage offensively or defensively and look at the best teams, they're typically near the top and the worst teams are at the bottom, typically, but still it's an overrated statistic. There's a whole lot more that goes into it. You can have a lot of games in which your defense was dominant and maybe gave up a couple touchdowns when it mattered, and then in the fourth quarter, the other quarterback's throwing the ball all over the place, picking up garbage yardage against a great defensive effort when the second and third teamers are in. So total yardage given up, it means something. There's an indication there, but it's not the end all be all.
No, not at all. Right. Well, it's not. And the offense has a lot to do with that too. When they put the defense in those horrible positions. I mean, you look at some of those games that got away, like the Illinois game. I mean, how many yards did they stack up? It's an incredible number. Ohio State, obviously, they're gonna rack up what they're gonna rack up and stuff. But you take a couple of those games out of the equation, and I think those stats get a heck of a lot more even across the board. So, and this defense, we've talked about it before, that how they responded with that bend but don't break attitude. They kept the team in a lot of those games right down to the end, overcoming so many obstacles that the offense and the special teams were putting them in. And these guys kept on going back out there, pinning their ears back and doing everything they could. And the brotherhood with this defense, I haven't seen it in a long time. And I've been around Nebraska football my whole life. Like Vershawn Jackson there, the first time I met him was probably, I don't know, almost 20 years ago. And this brother, back when he played, it was like that. And this is what I see out of this squad right now. And that's the one thing that I've really seen lacking from this program for, 10, 12 years.
Talking Nebraska football here every Tuesday night, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. If you leave your questions and comments, we will get to them. Also understand that we're at Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. If you make a contribution there and you want it designated, and just let us know that it's a Nebraska show, or if you just give to the channel, that's great. But if you definitely just want to contribute to what we're doing here with Nebraska, leave that in there so I'm understanding of where that's targeted. And, you caught me right in the middle of this, because this is what I'm looking to do. Give me just a second here, Greg. Here we go. Here we go.
Man Bear Pig looks really, really familiar to me. I'm trying to figure out where I've seen him from.
I want to make sure. Let's get this banner correct. There we go. Vershawn Jackson.
There you go.
No, he was with the Huskers from 94 to 97.
Yeah, he's got some.
Vershawn, I apologize. I know that I saw you play a bunch of times. There's no question about that. I watched probably 8 games a year during that time. But at the tight end position, had his best season in 1996 with 13 catches and 4 TDs. Those are career numbers there, with 5 touchdowns on the board. Nothing wrong with that.
Not at all. Not at all. He's one of those guys that he'll always go down in Husker history. Most Husker fans of our generation know him very well, and he'll always be a Husker. I don't know what else I can say. Great guy.
And he's got 3 rings, 94, 95, and 97. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, he picked a good time to be alive and be going through the program.
Vershawn would like to see a defensive stat jump up to top 20 in the nation. And like I say, the total yardage to me is a great indication. It's not the end-all be-all, because you got to evaluate the game and watch the game. But when it's all thrown together, the stats are meaningful. They do mean something. And when I was running through the defense there trying to find Nebraska, yeah, were the better defenses in the country near the top of that list? Yep, pretty much. And so it generally, especially if you play a full schedule, means something. But there's a whole lot more into it.
And I think and I agree with Vershawn 100%. And I think, he's close enough to the program to, I think he agrees with me that Coach Shenander has things really rolling pretty good in the right direction. And since, oh boy, I don't even want to put a year on one of the great black shirt defenses, but give these guys a chance. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
All right. There are shovels in the dirt on campus, which is exciting as well. A lot of people looking forward to, after they saw the drawings of what the renovations and the new build out will look like.
I'm getting assaulted here. Yeah, finally, the real shovels are in the ground, not just the ones for show. And once here, finals are getting wrapped up and all done with, and graduation, that now they're really going to hit it hard and make that initial push to get these new facilities opened up. So props to Hausman Construction, Joey Hausman there. He's got that thing going, and it makes you look forward to bigger and better things that Nebraska fans, Nebraska Nation expects as to be one of those leaders in the country when it comes to football and football facilities. So everything is moving forward, and it's good to see. And then you mentioned, like I said, I've thrown in a couple times, with the success of the baseball team right now, that you can't be happier than what's on the horizon here.
Greg, you had mentioned to me as we were running down a list of items to talk about before we started to go live about an 8th home game.
Well, yeah,
right?
they're counting the Garth Brooks announced his stadium tour, and he's coming here. It's August, early August. So it's
okay.
And even Bill Moose,
8th home game. Okay.
Yeah, an 8th home
All
game.
right.
And it might be on August 8th or something around there. But even Bill Moose was calling it an 8th home game because. And I'm not a Garth Brooks guy, but it sold out in 47 minutes. So if that tells you anything, I don't know. So anyway, I will be there, even though I think I know one Garth Brooks song, maybe. But it's huge. It's really huge for the local businesses missing out on so much from last season without having fans be able to attend games, and having the spring game 40,000, almost 40,000, whatever they let in. That was the biggest day for the local economy around here since COVID, pretty much. So that just means so much, and then that kind of brings up other things. Are they going to be able to sell beer in Memorial Stadium? Because I know with Garth Brooks, a big part of his contract, he makes a lot of money off of beer sales and stuff like that. So, that's something they have to work out with logistics and stuff, because Memorial Stadium is not set up for beer sales. And this is a whole different conversation that we can spend hours on. But bottom line, though, that's just a great. It's a booster. It's kind of like like we're saying, it's an extra home game for everybody to get back on board, and then you add on what's going on with Omaha. What Omaha missed out on last year. College World Series has 100% capacity now moving forward. Huge for Omaha. Omaha missed out on, I don't know, the number is just amazing how much money Omaha missed out on not having the College World Series last year. Olympic swim trials, all that stuff. NCAA tournament they missed out on. So everything moving forward right here is foot on the gas, all systems go. Everybody's so pumped and excited to get this thing going.
All systems go here at the Voice of College Football on our Nebraska channel. So please lock it in here every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central. Greg's so kind to give us his time Eastern every week. You can join him again on Husker Online, whether that be on the site on Rivals, HuskerOnline.com, or on the YouTube channel right here, Husker Online. And we'll be back next week. And again, we can't necessarily make it Tuesday every time. We do about 90+% of the time. So our rate's pretty high, but that's why you subscribe and hit that bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live. And Mike 3883 had mentioned earlier in the chat that he subscribed tonight to the Nebraska channel and the Oregon channel. So Mike's been listening to me. I appreciate that, because we're close to 1,000 subs on each one of those. And if you could push us past 1,000, even if you, let's say, I'm going to assume everybody watching, even though they're not, are Nebraska fans. Of course, we would love for you to subscribe right here on the Nebraska channel, of course. But to help us build our platform out, we need subs across the board. And 1,000 is a key figure on YouTube. So if you get on over to the Oregon channel, that's the next one in line, and get us past 1,000, you know what? You get us to like 1,100, 1,200, you can unsubscribe if you want to, because we're home free at that point. We're in good shape, and we'll just keep on going. So if you can just help us build the channels out, get us to 1,000.
If you get a Central Florida channel, do you think Mike would subscribe to that one too?
It sounds like it. I think he'll do whatever we offer.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
UCF's going to take a while. That one's down the list a little ways.
I hear
A little ways. All right, Greg. Is there anything else we need to tackle tonight?
Oh boy, I'm coming up blank on that one.
Sure.
Like I said, we're looking forward to recruiting, just ramping up like crazy here with camps going crazy coming up next month. I'm going to be busy. I'm going to be back out at camps. I can't wait for it. It's a great time. It's a great time to cover college football and college football recruiting. It really is.
Absolutely. And folks, lock it on in over on Husker Online and right here, because yes, we're going to nail Greg to the wall on all these targets and all these commits. He's going to have a lot to share with us, I'm sure, as we get through June after all these visits are completed and these student athletes make their decisions. Good stuff. Right, Greg, I appreciate it, and it's always a good time.
Absolutely, no problem. And that's Ryan Kolarvik that Mustrick's talking about. He's a banger. I love that guy too.
We'll see everybody next week again, Tuesday, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Bring in some more Husker